Hi, I'm Danny Elfman from the band Oingo Boingo with a message for all you crazy kids. Have a real good holiday season and a real good New Year's, but if you're partying down and you had too much to drink or even anything to drink, don't drive. Call a friend, call a neighbor, call a relative, call your folks. If nothing else works, call a cab. Better to surprise your parents with a taxi bill than a funeral bill. Get the message? Have a good one.
I mean, look, I'll play it. I'll probably get it wrong. Oh. Hang on. And this one, this chord shouldn't be in there. And that. Remember I said I'm not a performer? There was proof I'm not a performer. And maybe a good glass of rum will solve it.
You're about to hear is how the new Star Wars film begins.
It's almost cheating when you have John Williams because he writes feelings. You know, he knows how to make your heart soar like no one else.
Oh, baby, I just hope we'll talk later. I hope
Come on.
This stuff in Year 7 really needs to be good. I hope it is.
It literally makes the opening of the movie it defines it. Like it's the thing that we've never had.
Today, ladies and gentlemen, we have kitchen time with Junkie XL, and we're gonna make spaghetti carbonara. These are the ingredients that you need. Take a little sip. Dried spaghetti is best served with dried spaghetti, not fresh spaghetti. Very nice. Okay, back to work. Now we go over to what kind of utensils do you need? You need a whisker, sharp knife. You need this to shave the cheese.
So how was that for you? Is that the normal way to work? I'm worried because there's so much fucking around that goes on that is so unnecessary. You're screwing yourselves.
Do I know a good joke? No. So we're just gonna hang around for the food to cook. Oh, I know a good idea. I can take another Chardonnay break. That might be a good idea. That was a very good idea. Let's add a little more. You might hear some screaming in the background, and those are my kids just raising hell in the living room. So in case you're wondering where all that screaming is coming from, it's gonna be that.
Painful. It's like open heart surgery without an anaesthetic. It's fucking piling crap on top of crap and using crap on crap. Everything is fucking so fucking over-tweaked in a way that you've just gone past any form of normality with food. You think that the more I add and put in, it's just going to get better. It's not. Less is more.
Hi, my name is Danny Elfman, and I'm from the group Oingo Boingo. Often people come up to me after a show, and they say, "What kind of drugs do you use up there, man? It must be pretty strong." And I go, "You're absolutely right. I'd like to share that with you now because the drug is a very, very powerful one. Best of all, it's non-addictive, it won't kill you, and it's free. It's called adrenaline. You can use it too. You know where you get it? Right here. Try it. It's the only safe one." I'm Danny Elfman from the band Oingo Boingo with a message for all you crazy kids. Have a real good holiday season and a real good New Year's, but if you're partying down and you had too much to drink or even anything to drink, don't drive. Call a friend, call a neighbor, call a relative, call your folks. If nothing else works, call a cab. Better to surprise your parents with a taxi bill than a funeral bill. Get the message? Have a good one.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Brad Fry, coming to you live from the middle of Western Europe, Luxembourg City. When I say we today, I mean just me. I'm not going to be joined by Mike, but I've got a few things planned for us today that I hope you'll find interesting. Hello everybody, let me see. Hi Andrew. Sam asks, is there a way to watch any of the other streams? In theory, yes, but it kind of depends. So if you've ever gotten a notification for the streams, you should still be able to click the link. The streams are still technically up, but they're just not public. So if you follow those links, you can still watch the streams. The last roasting stream is on Twitch. This stream will also be saved on Twitch as well. So you'll be able to watch this if you don't want to watch it today. I think a lot of the streams going forward are going to stay on Twitch, but not publicly on YouTube. Speaking of Twitch, you may notice in the upper, right there. You may notice in the upper left corner that there's a Twitch URL. You can now watch me on Twitch, like literally right now. I'm streaming simultaneously now to YouTube and Twitch, so if that's your preferred platform, you can go check it out over there. Hi October. Thanks Andrew for subbing at level 2. Appreciate it. Grim's here, now it's a party. Alright. So here's the deal for today. Mike was originally going to join for about half an hour, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen. So in the beginning, what I'm thinking about doing is, in the past, let's say 24 hours, I started rereading a book that I read in college called Arranged by Nelson Riddle. And I was taking some notes, and I just thought I would go over some of them for you. I don't know if none of you have read that book before or are interested in some arranging stuff from, I think, one of the best arrangers in a long time, then maybe this is something that's interesting for you. After that, I'm going to do some Sibelius reducing for... What am I going to do? Wow. What's it called? The Flag Parade. That's the name of it. The Flag Parade from Star Wars Episode 1. And also some Superman music. So going to be super chill at that point. And then maybe at the end we'll look at some people's music that was sent in before. There's a lot of music in the queue that we didn't look at in the last roasting stream. So that's the agenda for today. Don't know how long we're going to go. But of course, feel free to make any sort of suggestions or ask questions along the way. Otherwise, I'm just going to go. Okay, so let me get my notes set up for you. How's everyone doing today? Grim, I stopped taking you seriously after you sent me that jank-ass score, I gotta tell you. I had a little bit of respect for you until you sent in your ridiculous PDF. So, that's the story. Okay. Here's my notes. What happened to your mouse? Oh, it became wireless. It became an Apple mouse. Reason being, I had a, what do you call it? A wired mouse, that I had to plug in with USB, and my Mac Mini only has so many USB slots, and I really needed to free some of them up. So I decided to switch to this. Don't hate me for it. Which program do you use? Which program do I use for what? For the reductions, it's Sibelius. Why? What was wrong with it? Wait, what was wrong with... What was I talking about? What was wrong with what? I don't remember what I was talking about. You guys are confusing me. Alright, so real quick, if you guys don't know who Nelson Riddle is. Nelson Riddle is a, let's say world-class arranger, or was a world-class arranger. He's no longer with us. Did a lot of jazz arrangements for, as you can see here, Frank Sinatra, Ella Fitzgerald, Nat King Cole, etc. You've definitely heard his analyses before, or analyses. Oh my god, I need to wake up. You've definitely heard his arrangements before. Here's his discography. I mean, it's crazy. Okay. Also did some film scores. I think the original Batman. Adam West did the score for. So that's cool. I hate you no matter the mouse. Cute. Would you recommend Sibelius for arranging scores? I guess. I like it. I'm used to Sibelius. I know so many people hate it. And I think it's all a matter of preference. I would kind of recommend trying them all out a little bit and seeing which one suits your workflow. The reduction by Grant. Oh, dude, it was awful. It was awful. No, how do I even sum it up? I think one of my biggest problems with it was, he had a full orchestral score, and whenever an instrument wasn't playing something for a whole page, it was just removed from the score. So like there would just be 20 staves like disappearing and coming back from page to page. It was bothering the hell out of me. So I was making fun of him for that. And also he had 10 percussion players, which is ridiculous. So everyone make fun of Grimm. Completely out of his mind, okay? But we love him for it, okay? Is Riddle your favorite arranger? Mine is Walter Murphy. He's certainly one of them, and Walter Murphy is as well. Okay, so having introduced Nelson Riddle, let's get into this book. So this book was recommended to me by, I think, one of the professors I studied with when I was in college. I actually recommended this to Mike, and now Mike has it, and he loves it. And I decided to reread it the other day and just take some notes. and remind myself of some of the knowledge in this book. Personally, I would sort of prefer to just pick out some cool things from this book and show them to you rather than try to explain it myself. Because I mean, what am I supposed to compare myself to Nelson Riddle? You know what I mean? It's this guy's a legend, and I'm just an inexperienced 25-year-old. So let's listen to this guy and listen to less of me, you know? Bar numbers. Oh, you're gonna get it, dude. He mentions bar numbers. It's excellent. So, I think I'm gonna skip through some of this beginning stuff. He just kind of talks about what is arranging. An arranger occupies an indefinable ground between an orchestrator and a composer. You need to be both. I think if you are even just aiming to be a composer, probably be both an orchestrator and an arranger as well. You know, wouldn't hurt. Information here was gathered through trial and error, but you should make your own discoveries and your own mistakes and develop the perception to tell one from the other. Yeah, this is cute, but, you know, let's get into the details. So, first chapter is on preparation, and I just picked out some stuff that I thought might be useful for you guys. So, it's far better to write the singer's line and at the same time number the pages and bars before a single note of the background is written. And if you've watched any of the previous streams, you'll know why I highlighted this part in particular and even made bold the word bars, because many of you, including people in this chat, forget to put bar numbers in your scores. It's really annoying, okay? And I want to show you that this guy, who is an incredible arranger, includes bar numbers. It's not rocket science, okay? It's not just me that's asking you to do this. It's Nelson Riddle. Now, he is dealing primarily with arranging jazz tunes for singers, like Frank Sinatra, and so he'll often reference the singer's tune in the book and sort of basing your arrangement off of that. But maybe more broadly, you want to think of this as just being the melody, whether that's being played by, you know, a trumpet or a flute, or being sung by a singer. Still important to set up the score with pages and numbers. Where can we find the book? That's a good question. I think you can buy it on Amazon. Let me double check and show you real quick. Yep, looks like it's on Amazon. Check it out. Not that expensive. It's $35 on Amazon, or you can get it with a what? Or you can get it with a plastic comb for $800. What the frick? Yeah, probably not worth the plastic comb to pay an extra $800. So I would recommend the paperback over the plastic comb version. And you know, I'll also throw it out there that it's probably available as a PDF. So give it a search. Michelle, Nelson includes bar numbers. Be like Nelson. Exactly. Michelle knows what he's talking about. Okay? Is that jazz, what I'm hearing? No, it's not. We are listening to lo-fi hip-hop. Okay. If you're arranging a vocal tune, get into the habit of writing the lyrics under the melody line first. This can be useful in dreaming up an appropriate accompaniment, as music can be fitted to certain words or moods. As I mentioned earlier, Nelson super into film scores, and so I think he just really appreciates the idea of trying to fit the music to what's happening. And something that's kind of cool about a lot of his arrangements, I think, are, if the singer is talking about my emotions are going up or something, the music will kind of ascend. The lines will ascend. If you're talking about, oh, you make me feel blue, accompaniment kind of goes down. It's real simple stuff, but it makes sense, and he's going for it, so good for him. Can also help in determining when to thin out the motion or thickness of accompaniment. This is something that I talked about in the Counterpoint and Film Soundtracks video, if any of you guys watched that. And I think I even mentioned this book and me deriving some of those ideas from this book. So here's kind of what he says in essence. It is an old rule of thumb that where the melody is busy, the background should be just the opposite. When the melody is unbusy, the long sustaining notes, the accompaniment can render things more interesting by moving and supporting the melody into its next phrase. Basically, if your melody isn't doing anything, the accompaniment should do more. If your melody is doing more things, your accompaniment should do less things. Okay, it's like balancing it out. And what I talked about in the Counterpoint for Film Soundtracks video is that film composers will often do the same thing with film, where they're treating the film as the melody. And if there's more happening in the film, whether that's dialogue or explosions or a bunch of crazy stuff, then maybe you want to dial it back a little bit and not interfere with that. So just something to think about. Also take into account instrument and singer registers. In the lower range, accompaniment may need to be more transparent and not interfere with the soloist. If the melodies in the upper range, support may be needed. This is the same, by the way, with instruments. Like I said, Nelson is dealing specifically with singers, so he's sort of talking about if your singer is in the low range of their voice, where they're maybe a little weaker and can't project as much, then they're not going to be as loud, and all the instruments should kind of back away and allow that to be heard. Whereas in the opposite, if your lead trumpet is playing in its upper range, where the player needs to blow a lot of air, then you should probably support that with the rest of the brass section. At least that's my interpretation of it, of what he's trying to say here. Do you like Thad Jones? Yeah. Andrew, is there any other reason for no key signatures on film scores beyond the usual no key centers in the pieces? From what I heard, it also, in a weird way, can be easier to sight read, especially if there are just a lot of key changes, which tends to be the case in film music, where there's a lot of modulations, and that can just lead to sight reading issues. And even in my experience, I wrote a short tune for a brass quintet when I was in college. This was my first semester in college, and I wrote like a very film score-esque piece with a lot of key changes, and the players like messed it up. Like, and these were like professionals that play in the Philadelphia Orchestra, and they like totally fucked it up and missed like some of the modulations, and it was like maybe if it was just all accidentals, it makes it a little bit easier. I guess that's part of the idea, apart from what you said. That's just my experience with it. Alright, so in the same chapter, he talks about what sort of equipment you need. So a 2018 Mac Mini or later, with at least an 8-core processor and 32 gigabytes of RAM. Even in, I think, 1985 is when Nelson Riddle died, I think. This was like the thing that you wanted to have, okay? Very important to have at least, I would say, 32 gigabytes of RAM, and also Audacity. You feel me? I'm kidding, of course. It's kind of funny reading this. So the equipment that he actually recommends is like, he gave a certain pencil that has like soft lead. firm though not dry eraser, pencil sharpener, drafting table with clip-on lamp, stopwatch when scoring a film and having to calculate the time codes that you want to hit. Or if you really want to get crazy with your tech, you can get one of those old-fashioned metronomes that will keep track of the time. Really crazy stuff that we're talking about in this book. So definitely check out. I would say get a pencil sharpener if you don't already have one. Very important. All right. So next up, how to set ideas on paper. I'm gonna go through probably this one and then maybe the woodwind family. I don't know if we'll get to brass today. Maybe we'll do that another day. I also have to finish reading the rest of the book, so we're not gonna do a lot of this today. Unless you guys really want me to. So the harmonization of the melody, you should become familiar with chord symbols because these are popular and in a convenient way of communicating how a melody should be harmonized. Obviously, you guys already know this. You guys are already all familiar with chord symbols, or I don't know how you read my stuff then. This is interesting. When substituting one of your own chords for a chord belonging to the composer's harmonization, you should make honestly sure that it is an improvement and not merely an ego trip. In the case of an arrangement consisting of several choruses, it would be best to follow the composer's harmonies for the first chorus and reserve any changes or variations for the ensuing choruses. I think this is kind of a good idea anyway, where maybe in the first iteration of a melody you give it to them, you give it to the listener very simply. And maybe you're not harmonizing it with a bunch of altered chords, you know, until the listener has a good idea of what they're listening to. And finally, passing tones, staggering passing tones so that the pattern of motion is different from the melody can help make the movement more interesting than simple blocks of chords. We've also talked about this before on the stream. Block chords are kind of boring. I mean, they're boring. They're boring as shit, okay? In most circumstances. Passing tones should be most active when the melody is least active, and vice versa. This is exactly what we were talking about 10 minutes ago with the counterpoint thing. So that's that. How we doing, guys? Is this like cool to you guys? I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like, it's a little dry, but it's like packing information into the first part of the stream. Also, it kind of saves you a read. I'm kind of trying to give you the most important stuff from this book. So the a lot of the instrument chapters in this book contain a lot of very technical stuff about the ranges and what sounds good in each range, and I didn't take any notes of that, so I'm gonna kind of speed through this stuff. There's a few interesting things here and there that I'll try to touch on, but a lot of it's just very dry technical orchestration stuff that you should probably know anyway. So for saxophones, it's far better to write your score in the right key for the transposed instruments for several reasons. One, writing in transposed keys gives you closer contact with each instrument's characteristics. And two, writing in concert usually involves confusing ledger lines and leaves transposing to copyists who suck. I'm paraphrasing what he said, but I mean, the number of people who, let's say, for example, write their viola part with the viola clef in this chat probably low, but I've been doing it for this exact reason. Writing in the instrument's transposed key means that the instrument's range is falling more appropriately in the range of the staff. So you're not going to have something like the baritone saxophone playing several ledger lines below the staff. The range is going to be more or less centered onto the staff when it's transposed, and that helps you see, oh, I'm now asking the baritone sax to play something very high up in its range, which is maybe going to give a result that I am not looking for, as opposed to playing in the more comfortable range of the instrument. So kind of an interesting tidbit. Clarinets, most saxophones double in clarinet. When the score calls for a change of instrument, sufficient time must be given for the player to execute the physical switcheroo. You guys know this already, I'm sure. 2 bars rest and slow 4/4 should be sufficient. This is funny. Saxophone players who include clarinets as a double do not, as a rule, get the purest tone or the maximum facility from the clarinet, so don't be too daring in your scoring in this situation. Basically, he's saying saxophone doublers and clarinet suck, okay? He's not really saying that. I'm saying that. According to Nelson Riddle, flutes are in. So, if you're a flautist, hell yeah, brother. Nelson Riddle thinks you're cool. He also talks about the piccolo. Piccolo can reinforce the C flute by writing it an octave above the flute. Same written note for each, but piccolo will sound an octave higher. Piccolos fulfill a specialized function in that they can play notes of considerable intensity and strength in a register shared by no other wind instrument. Only the violin can reach the register of the piccolo, but can't equal its carrying power. The piccolo in its upper register can be heard clearly above a full symphony orchestra. Dan, what if you just learn the ranges of the instruments in concert key instead? Wouldn't that be just as good? Just more work up front? Yeah, I guess you could do that. Bisaxophonists suck. Yes. Double reeds. Bassoons are funny. That's all I really got from this section. He said something about like, oh, bassoons can be used for a humorous effect. It's like, okay, dude, thanks. The use of a classic woodwind setup, including French horns. When using French horns, keep away from repetitive high notes. Even a great horn player can crack a note easily. Let them survive to fight another day, and don't write the parts too daringly high, and always give your horns a few bars rest whenever possible. Talked about this on the stream before. Many people who sent in pieces previously to be roasted sent in music where they were asking instruments like the horns to play long sustained notes for sometimes over a dozen measures, sometimes more than 20. And what we always joke about on the stream is, cool, you just killed the horn player. Okay? You're asking the players to breathe and blow air into their horns for an extended period of time. At some point, they're going to run out of air. And what are they supposed to do? They will die. And we will hold a funeral on this stream, and we will make fun of you for stupidly asking your horn players to play for like a minute straight, okay? Again, I'm showing you this because it is not just me that is saying this on the stream to you from my own high horse, okay? This is Nelson Riddle, guy who knows his shit, who has way more experience than probably everyone in this chat combined, saying, hey, horn players gotta breathe, okay? Yes, Nelson Riddle's book is full of emojis. Electronics and woodwinds. This is a stupid chapter. Flutes go beep boop. Who cares about electronic flutes and clarinets and saxophones? This was cool maybe in the 70s, but no one gives a shit about electric flutes now. And we do not give a shit about electronic woodwinds on this stream. Okay? If you do, grow up. Okay? They're not cool. All right? Moving on. Do we want to do brass, yes or no? Or do we want to move on to Sibelius stuff? Oh man, that horn player was killed at bar 4. Yeah, or it was killed at bar who the hell knows? You know what I mean? Because if you're killing your horn players, if you're asking them to play high notes for 20 measures, if you don't have bar numbers, you are not safe on this stream. What is going on? Alright, people are saying yes, brass. Wait a minute, what is that under your chair? Is that a high horse down there? You're hiding? Yes, exactly. Alright, let's do brass. Everyone's saying brass. Trumpets. What are we saying about trumpets? Remember that trumpets, in all brass instruments, achieve high notes by increasing air pressure into the mouthpiece and low notes by decreasing air pressure. Jaw position and lip muscles, relaxed versus tight, also have a great deal to do with high and low. Something that Nelson talks about a lot in this book that I appreciate and that I also repeatedly advocate for on this stream is thinking about your musicians as actual human beings who have physical and psychological needs. Okay, this is not just samples in a DAW. This is not writing something in Sibelius and playing it back. Of course, Sibelius will play anything you ask it to because it's a computer and it doesn't care about breathing or anything like that. What you have to do is think about, I have these musicians in a studio and I am going to ask them as human beings who have to breathe to play a certain line, what is it going to sound like? He's saying here, to play higher notes, you have to put more air, you have to increase the air pressure, all of these things, there's like a very physical thing happening, okay? But the player cannot hear, they cannot play, not in tune at least. If possible, both extremely high and low notes should be led up to logically. Trumpet player gets destroyed by facts and logic. Isn't there a nerd emoji? Should have put that in there. Yeah, there we go. That's what I was looking for. Okay. Think the Superman theme. At the very beginning of the Superman theme, when John Williams wants the trumpet to go up and hit the high, whatever it is, I think is it B flat? I don't know. He doesn't start on the high B flat. He starts you on a B flat an octave lower, goes up a fourth to the E flat, goes up a second to the F, goes up another perfect fourth to the B flat. It leads you into it. Trumpet players, in my experience, are very grateful for that. Okay? Similarly to the horn notes previously, keeping trumpet players blowing in the upper registers nonstop will lead to a, quote, frustrated arranger and resentful trumpet players. Okay? Also, in extreme cases, will lead to dead trumpet players. And we will hold a funeral for them here on this stream, and we will make fun of you. Okay? Brass sections should be used for punctuation and support, and should not be given sustained passages you could assign to string players who can play them for hours without sweating it. Something we joke about on the stream, string players do not have to breathe. And I say that, obviously they do have to breathe, but they can play without breathing. Do you understand what I'm saying? Maybe you don't. Trombones. The bones. The bones and the boners. Don't be afraid to ask the lead boner how high they can comfortably play. Ideally, such a relationship should exist between arranger and every member of the orchestra to be aware of the limitations of the players. Again, human beings in your orchestra, different capabilities, different ranges. Doesn't hurt to ask if you're not sure. Better than asking them to play a note or assuming that they can play a note, and writing it, having them not be able to play that note, and then wasting rehearsal time. If you frequently write for the same ensemble, it may be helpful for you to keep a chart of the ensemble, including names of players and their doubling instruments and ranges. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna skip through some of this. We already talked about line writing, I think, with passing tones. If your brass section is a bit limited, meaning small, then there are a few tricks that you can do. In part, what Nelson talks about here is line writing, where instead of having simple block chords, which will sound very empty and strange with maybe 2 or 3 players in a section, actually having moving lines and having each part be a little more linear can help, because the passing tones can kind of set you up for overtones and suggest harmonies that are actually not completely there. If you have a full brass section, maybe 3 or 4 boners, 3 or 4 trumpeters, then having a total block chord can be a little more effective. Doubling melody notes in your block chords is perfectly permissible, especially when the melody notes descend to moshi tones in the trumpets. Most first trombone players tend to overblow. Okay, I like this part. Most first trombone players tend to overblow as if in fear of losing their identity as section leaders when surrounded by other brass instruments. It is safer to give them something solid to bite into. So what he was saying in that circumstance, I mean, I think this is funny because he's basically saying first trombone players have a terrible ego. And I probably extended the same thing to first trumpet players. But he's basically saying, okay, if you have your trumpets, maybe 3 or 4 trumpets, playing a tune and harmonizing with each other, and your first trumpet is playing the tune at the top, then if you're going to double that with your trombone section and have them playing together, go ahead and give your first trombone player that tune as well, but an octave lower, because they're going to love playing the tune, and it's going to stand out, and it's going to mix really well with the trumpet. For some reason, in this chapter, he just randomly started talking about how to harmonize melodies in a very general sense. I'm not sure why. In essence, I'll skip through this kind of quick, but basically he starts with a tune, writes the bass line below it, and then fills in the harmony after he has those 2 things. Kind of weird. I don't think I usually do this, but to each their own, I guess. Moving on to the French horns. Horns are weaker than both trumpets and trombones, and when blending them together, it is important to consider both range and dynamics. It may be necessary to write the horns one dynamic level higher in order to balance appropriately. In the specific context that he was talking about, because there are some musical examples in the book, he was dealing with 2 horns against 2 trombones, or 2 horns against 2 trumpets. I think this is mitigated in some sense in a typical symphonic orchestra, because you'll have 4 horns versus 3 trumpets, or 4 horns versus 3 trombones, and it helps to have the extra horn player in there, I think. But in any case, what he's saying is they are weaker instruments. You need to consider, if they're playing approximately in the same range, you may have to just ask them to play louder. There are 2 types of boners. Either they're the guy drinking till the morning, or they're the guy pointing out the mistakes of everyone else. Either way, they're a guy. Any dependable blend between groups of instruments of different strengths to be successful not only has to be written and marked carefully by the arranger, but must be accompanied by an awareness of the part of the players, a sensitivity to the phrasing and intonation, and a real desire to help the mixture come off. Again, this is talking about the players. He's basically saying, all the players need to be aware of their place in the mix, going, Okay, trombones, you are supporting the trumpets, and then having the trumpets be able, or having the trombones be able to accommodate that. Tuba, function of the tuba is to give firm footing in chords, can also double trombones, and occasionally function as a solo instrument. Great. Electronics and trumpets, trumpet go beep boop, again, who gives a shit? Electronic trumpets are a thing that nobody cares about anymore. You can safely erase this entire section from your memory. Okay? Finally, mutes. Mutes and brass. Mutes offer variety and color change, two things that arrangers should be seeking out. Cup mute, cool. Distant effect, straight mute, sharpen, decisive, bucket mute, unpinched sound. As if an echoey veil were flung over open brass, whatever the hell that means. Harmon mute for trumpets, ear-arresting tone used extensively for solo purposes. When using mutes, consider the range. Mutes don't sound so great at the very bottom of the range and at the very top of the range. And also give them time to switch to the mute or take the mute out. Same with asking a saxophone player to put their saxophone down and pick up their clarinet if you're going to ask them to double in a song. That's it for the brass section. What do you guys think? I know this is like a little bit dry, but I just thought some of you might like it. This is as far as I got. Maybe I'll get into percussion and keyboard and rhythm section another day. But I really like this book. Always revisit it. Just to remind myself of some of this. I think it's generally pretty good and very practical advice. It's not just very dry technical stuff about range and oh, you know, this is the professional range of the instrument, this is the student range of the instrument, this is like the trills that, you know, the clarinet can't play, which is all good stuff to know. I think there's a book that Mike recommended to you guys before that he has and that I have, which is a really small, like, dictionary of orchestration. It's like literally this big, that has all this information in it, and it's a good reference book if you don't have this stuff memorized. But I feel like the technical stuff you should either memorize or have a quick way to look it up. But otherwise, I really like books that go into this very practical stuff, like trombone players have big egos. That's good to know. Let's see. Dry but good and clear. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's like a less dry way for me to go through it apart from like literally reading through the notes. I mean, I guess this is stuff that I'm constantly reiterating on the stream when we do fun stuff like the roasting sessions and everything. So I think it gets reinforced through more fun ways of hanging out and talking about music. But for people who really want to know this stuff, you know, I hope it gets the job done. Even though some of the points may seem obvious, there are good points, especially for us DAW users who forget certain things like breathing. Basically, it just says don't kill your brass players. Yeah, basically, the main points are include bar numbers and let brass players breathe, which is the shit I talk about every single stream anyway. Cool. Actually, we're just in time for the jazz playlist to be over. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna close this. Switch to me. I'm gonna look at you guys. Wait, look at me. Let your brass players breathe. Okay. Bar numbers. Please. Nelson Riddle's gonna roll around in his grave if you don't include brass numbers, okay? and your horn players are going to roll around in their grave because you killed them. Okay? It is what it is. All right. Moving from one dry thing to another. Time for entering shit into Sibelius. This is always an exciting endeavor. So I've been working on some reductions for you guys. It feels very empty without the music now. Put on more music. I think I'm gonna put on some more music. Oh, where is my Sibelius files? Alright. So the first one that I think I'm almost done with is the Flag Parade. I'm sure many of you will know. You're all nerds. I'll play you what I have, which is actually most of it. I have a few measures left to go. And then I'll do some formatting and then some Superman music. So, let me switch again. Here's what we got. And that's it. So gotta fill in those last couple measures. Figured I would do that with you guys. But I guess before we get into that, I did want to point out, since we were just reading this book, or going through the main points of the book by Nelson Riddle. I know I don't have my instrument labels here, but so we were talking about when your tune has more movement in it, your accompaniment has less movement in it. When your tune has less movement, your accompaniment has more movement. Okay? Let's take a look here. What does John Williams do? Here's the tune. Okay, so, obviously we're not asking Frank Sinatra to sing that. Okay, this is, I think, the horns or something playing that. It would be kind of funny to have Frank Sinatra sing that. But take a look at this. There are parts of this where the melody has less movement when it's just playing these quarter notes. What does John Williams do when he has these quarter notes? He's throwing in these little accompaniment zingers. Okay? So, melody note on the downbeat for a whole beat. On the offbeat, we've got what I think is the high woodwinds and piano or something like that to fill in the space. Same right here, woodwinds playing this little 16th note pattern in between the quarter notes. Also the bass notes filling in with a little extra rhythm in between. When the melody has more going on, like right here with these trumpets, and right here with the 16th note, there is nothing going on in the accompaniment, okay? So it's almost like John Williams knows what he's doing. Maybe he read Nelson Riddle's book, okay? I don't know. Also, look here, when we have these trumpet chords. Okay, so obviously part of those trumpet patterns are very busy with 16th note triplets. Other parts of it, there's a little bit of space, which first of all lets the trumpets breathe. Look, that's like a quarter note space where they can quick take a breath. Okay, so he's not killing the trumpet players, but also in that space where the trumpet players are taking a breath because they need to take a breath, he's filling in that space with something else. Here's the bass note. Right? Little eighth note thing, not a lot. Also, a more busy percussion part. Okay? I mean, this was the percussion part when the trumpets are busy. So you can see right in that spot where they take the quick breath is when he adds the, I guess you could call it a fill, okay? What's this cue from? Do you not know, Grim? I thought you liked Star Wars. Dude, this is Phantom Menace when Anakin does the pod race. This is like the big lead up to the beginning of the pod race. It's like they're all in the stadium, like getting ready to start. I would play it, but I can't play copyrighted material, especially when I'm streaming to Twitch, because Twitch has terrible DMCA things going on right now. So anyway, you guys get the idea. Here's another thing, real quick. Again, I mean, this is very similar to what just happened a minute ago, but there's a little quarter note space for the trumpets to take a breath, and in that space, look what he does with the woodwinds. Pretty cool. I like the good Star Wars movies. Okay, dude. All right. So, with that being said, I'm gonna do some note entry, which is kind of super not fun, but I'm gonna do it now. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and ask. But otherwise, we're gonna chill a little bit. Listen to some Sibelius ASMR. Get the music going again. You guys are gonna get tired of this album. I like it because it's good and it's John Williams, and it also doesn't give me a copyright claim. It's like from the 50s or something. Okay. I gotta pull up my copy of the score real quick. I'm gonna do this just in case it opens on the wrong screen, because I definitely cannot show you guys the score. That would be a big no-no. Where is it? Where's the score? Got it. Okay. Did I hear the Captain Marvel score? No. I haven't watched the movie. I haven't watched any recent Marvel movie. Not to be that guy, but I just don't care a lot about a lot of the Marvel movies. Or their scores, frankly. Is it good? I mean, is the soundtrack good? Wow, the guy who shits on my knowledge of the Star Wars movies hasn't seen the recent Marvel movies. Why am I even here? Grim, I don't know why you're here, man. I shit on you, you shit on me. You send me terrible PDFs, and I shit on you for that. I sort of relentlessly shit on you, and you just keep coming back. Hi, Vox. Yeah, Marvel isn't for everyone. It's not for me. I just don't care. And I also don't really care about the music. It's nothing personal. If you do like it, that's cool, you know? But, I just don't have a lot to say about it, that's all. This cue is so catchy. Hey, Yuval. No, nothing interesting. Boring stream as usual. We talked about arranging at the very beginning. Like literally, I just had notes that I took from reading an arranging book by Nelson Riddle, and kind of try to quickly read through the notes. People who might be interested, so if you're curious about arranging, you can go back and check that out. Otherwise, it's gonna be a real chill stream today. There's a lot of weird stuff happening with the brass right here that I'm trying to figure out how to how best I should present it. Because if you look here, I've done something that I don't usually do, where you can see these two things are basically the same. The trombones are playing the tune in the bass clef here, and then the trumpets and French horns are playing the same tune an octave up. What happens is, towards the end of it, we start having them break apart and sort of repeat different parts of the tune and kind of echo each other. So I thought it would be a good idea to split them up and show them breaking apart. There's just a lot of weird stuff happening. Alright, trombones or trumpets come back in right here. No, this is right. Okay. You guys like the last stream? Yeah, Mike was supposed to come back today, or that was the plan, but he has a family and he had to go do family stuff. Boo! Family stuff. Dude, who has families? Remember you once had a staff reappearing mid-page and the color of the section just slide from another staff. Yeah. Could I do that here? I don't know if that's worth trying to do here. I think this... Actually, you know what I can do? This will be a lot easier. Because up until this point, trombones are literally just doubling the French horns on this lower note. There's not a single thing different. So alright, here's what I'm gonna do. This will be better. Let's axe this. Put the band hammer down. Make this its own thing again. And then we're gonna use the arrows. Oh, for fuck's sake. This is the problem with Magic Mouse. Alex, seems like you all know each other. Sorry I haven't presented myself. I'm studying classical guitar in Florence. Am I welcome? Dude, of course. I'm sorry if I didn't make you feel welcome. I mean, none of us really know each other. We're all just strangers on the internet that I guess like this stuff. That's what it's all about, you know? So, as Grim just said, if you put bar numbers on your score, we like you here, okay? You are a friend. If you don't put bar numbers on your score, and you don't give your French horn players enough time to breathe, then you are not a friend, and I will ban you. Yeah, I don't think anyone here actually knows each other. You know, so don't feel bad, you know? You are completely welcome. How's this, guys? I'll put a note that the trombones just moved down here, and I'll point them there. I think that should be good enough. And then I have my trumpet players, which at some point, wait, what the frick just happened? Someone measure 43. No, I'm not. Okay, I lost myself, but it's fine. Everything's fine. Nobody panic, okay? I like that better. Yeah. It's kind of technically a no-no. I'm notating two different voices, but we don't always follow the rules here. That's for sure. George, thanks for becoming a member, my friend. Ba-da-dum, ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-bum, bum, bum, ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-bum. By the way, so John Williams actually has 5 trumpet players here, as opposed to the 3 that he usually has. It's kind of crazy. He's got 5 trumpet players, 8 horns, and 4 trombones. And so right here, these are the trumpets. And just so you understand the distribution of those 5 trumpets, he's got trumpets 1, 2, and 3, exactly as you see here. Trumpet 1 is playing the top note, trumpet 2 in the middle, trumpet 3 on the bottom. Then trumpet 4 doubles the top note, trumpet 5 doubles the bottom note. So these 2 top and bottom notes also incidentally happen to be the root and the third, are the notes being reinforced by the extra trumpets. And then below, he's doing the classic Johnny thing, which is we're going to take those trumpets, which are playing pretty high up, and we're going to double them just straight up, the exact same thing, an octave lower in the horns. And he actually doesn't have all 8 horns playing at the same time here, but he does have, let me see. Yeah, okay, so this is pretty simple. Horns 1 and 2 playing the top note, horns 3 and 4 are playing the middle note, horns 5 and 6 are playing the bottom note. So actually, if you remember, we talked about with the Nelson Riddle book, him saying that that horns are the weaker instrument and need to be reinforced. We have one more horn player. Even here in this kind of ridiculous expanded brass section, he's still using an extra horn. 5 trumpets, 6 horns. See what I'm saying? So many brass players because it's a parade and he wants that heavy fanfare. Exactly. You know, I also think of, with this piece, there's, what's it called? There's a piece in, what is it? Ben-Hur. Is it Ben-Hur? Yeah, it's Ben-Hur. I haven't watched the movie in a long time. Yeah, totally. So there's a piece in Ben-Hur called Parade of the Charioteers that I think John was kind of lifting from here. And in the movie, if I remember correctly, I mean, it's like a chariot race, much like a pod race, if you would, by the way. Jupiter Gaming, thank you for becoming a member of the channel. Incidentally, it happens to be the same or close to the same scenario in Ben-Hur in the movie where our main characters are participating in a race around a track in a vehicle of some sort, be it a chariot or a pod racer. And at the beginning of the race, there's a big fanfare, celebrate the beginning of the race, and the music is pretty similar. Not completely the same, obviously. I'm not saying it's a ripoff, but I'm just saying I think that John Williams might have been tapping into that soundtrack a little bit. And I also think that George Lucas may have even tempted with it. And I have no evidence of that, but I know that George Lucas did talk about temping, I think, the first Star Wars movie with some Ben-Hur music, if I'm not mistaken. And I might be mistaken. I'll make that clear. There was a reason that I brought up Ben-Hur. I can't remember why now. Oh, it was because there's like a video on YouTube. If you guys go on YouTube and type in Parade of the Charioteers, Ben-Hur. There's a live performance of it with a insane brass section. Like 100 brass players or something playing it live. And it's a crazy sound. And it's a great piece, so you should go listen to it. So way crazier than the 5 trumpets and 8 horns that we've got. In this piece, anyway. Yeah, Grim, I think that's it. I mean, you'll know when you click it because you'll see a brass section like the size of Oklahoma. Okay? I'll show you guys what's going on with the brass voicing here, because here we're adding in the trombones, but I mean, this is so funny. So look here, actually I'll pause the I can't pause the music. Alright, I'm just gonna turn it down real quick. So listen, just take a listen to this real quick. Okay, so just real quick, on the tail end of that, I'm gonna pull up the music again. On the tail end of that, in the third measure here, we're adding in the trombones. After the trombones finish their sustained G here. And literally we're just doubling the horn voicings, which are doubling the trumpet voicings an octave lower. It was so funny to me when I first started actually taking like a deep look at John Williams' scores, how simple and how easy it is to achieve his sound sometimes. And what I mean by that is, you know, some composers will kind of have like much more intricate voicing, okay, and that's fine. I mean, John Williams will do it too, but like, it's like he's taking this this inverted triad and the trumpets, doing the same thing in the horns an octave down, and doing the same thing in the trombones, and that's all it is. And then planing major triads, as you've all just pointed out, like, so simple, but like, how powerful is it? You know, it's like amazing. Can you use a neutral chord or something? C neutral would be C, E flat, half G. You mean like a note in between E natural and E flat? I mean, I guess. Yeah, I guess you could. I don't know. I don't know that I would. I'm not sure what the precedent is for that. Never really gotten into that. You guys all listening to Parade of the Charioteers now? It's a cool piece. Both the Parade of the Charioteers and the Flag Parade are extremely catchy. Didn't Adam Neely cover that in a video? Probably. It sounds like something he would do. Adam Neely's like, hey guys, ever wanted to play a chord right in the middle of a major and a minor chord? Here's a 40-minute video about the history of neutral chords. Okay, dude. What the hell? Alright, we're gonna do that. I don't like that, but... Wait, where is the lick in Firebird? Never noticed that. I'm gonna do another weird thing. Which is it's one of the slower ones, the one with the oboe solo. Yo, Leonardo. What's going on, my friend? Of all this. Yo, what? Yeah, Avid is telling me my credit card's gonna expire. It's not even true. Okay, alright, let's finish up. We got four more measures. We can do it. Got these big beefy ass brass chords. Double check that the horns are doing the exact same thing an octave lower. It looks like they are. Except for the last chord. That's interesting. And they play. Huh. Look at that. That's kind of cool. So the horns stop completely doubling the trumpets on that last note, where the root here, the G, is played by horns 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and the B is played by just horn 1. So they all come together at this last chord. They're all doubling the lead trumpet on the G an octave lower. Leonardo, I'm doing great. Just quickly passing by. I hope everybody is doing great also. I think everyone is doing all right. I hope they are. I think we're all having fun. Or if not having fun, just Just kicking it. Okay. You've all just did a quick search and found it. It's the Round Dance of the Princess. How about once I finish the last couple measures of this, we'll take a quick break and pull that up and listen to Stravinsky playing the lick in the Firebird. Is this the film version of the Flag Parade or the concert suite? This is the film version. So what happens here is actually the last two measures are repeated in the film, and then they end. I did listen to the concert version, and it seems like the concert version is just the film version, but with more repetition. It's just a little bit longer, and the material that is added to make it longer is not really anything new. So I didn't bother with it. Yeah. So no neutral chord. I mean, not in this piece. There certainly will be no neutral chords here. I have nothing to say about them, that's all. Okay. We've now listened to the John Williams jazz album twice. Oh god. I need more like copyright-free jazz albums. I mean, I guess it's not really copyright-free, but free enough that I'm not going to get clapped for it. It's almost right on time. I'm about to finish this, and then we're going to take a listen to that. Oh, dude. Okay, we can listen to like literally the 10 seconds of Firebird, and then I have to not play anymore because of DMCA. Two more measures. I think this is it, actually. No, that's it. We're done. Okay. Just have to throw the repeat thing here because this is repeated. It says repeat until Q. I don't remember what the Q is supposed to be there. So this is it. Maybe we take a listen to this. How about that? In all of its general MIDI glory. That's it. There we got it, folks. That's a reduction of the flag parade. Next up comes the analysis stuff, I guess. I do have a lot to say about this. First I have to write in the instrument names, but that won't take too long. I'm not going to do that right now, though, on stream. That would be incredibly boring. As if the rest of this wasn't boring. So I think that's all I'm gonna do this cue for today. I want to say I noticed something listening through it just now. If you were here earlier when we were going through the Nelson Riddle book, we were talking about trumpets, and Nelson Riddle wrote about approaching the high notes logically, quote unquote. As I said, destroying trumpet players with facts and logic. Basically, he was saying if you're going to ask the trumpet player to play a note in its upper range, you want to approach it from below and allow them to kind of lead themselves into the note rather than asking them to just jump in right away and play that high note. They're not going to be happy with you for that. I gave the example of the Superman cue, but this is the exact same thing. Okay, this is not like actually that high of a note for a trumpet, but he's doing the same thing here, where rather than just asking the trumpet player to start on this note, he's starting them an octave below, going a fourth up, a second up, and then another fourth up. So they get to kind of ease their way into that note, which is a very polite thing to do, you know, writing a trumpet part. So just something I noticed. All right, let me catch up. Yuval, you're hitting me with a lot of info about this Firebird thing. Maybe skip the first 5 seconds or so because there's a flute intro. You pick the video with the ballerina photo. It starts at 0:18. Okay. Yeah, let's check that out right now. And then we'll move on from the flag parade, unless y'all want to see something else or have a question about that. We will move on to a cue from Superman that is insane. An insane cue. Why is Twitch saying I have an unstable connection when it literally looks like a straight line? I don't know how my connection could be more stable, but it's saying it's an unstable connection. Twitch is wilding out in here. By the way, I am streaming on Twitch. If you're here, on YouTube and you prefer Twitch, twitch.tv/Brad Fry is the place you want to go. But only if you want to watch me on Twitch. Okay. Okay. Brad, do you compose? Sometimes. Occasionally, when I feel like it. Actually, a majority of my work is more arranging and orchestrating and teaching an AI how to destroy the music industry. Okay. So I need to search for wait, you've all helped me out. It's oh, what's it called? Oh, Round Dance of the Princess. So if you just joined in, someone mentioned earlier in the chat that the lick plays in the Firebird. So we're going to listen to that real quick. Just for funsies. Ballerina photo starts at 0:18. I think I got it. Let's take a listen. Cute. There you go, guys. Okay, gotta ban that person on Twitch. Wait. Hold on a sec. Can I loop that? Can we just loop that on the stream? Probably wouldn't get picked up by copyright if it was just a cutout loop. You guys are hurting me. Dude, I don't know why I had like 4 cups of coffee today. And now I feel like I have no energy. What else is new? So listen, here's what's gonna happen now that we've listened to the lick 8 times. We're gonna wrap up this flag parade thing now that I've finished the reduction. And a while ago I started this was like a year or 2 ago. I started a reduction of a cue from Superman called Father's Instruction, which is when Superman goes to his Fortress of Solitude, right? And he talks to his dad. There's this crazy cue that plays behind it all. like way crazier than you can imagine. Like right now, picture in your head what a crazy piece of music would look like. Okay. And just keep it there. Keep it there in the back of your mind. Go, oh man, it would probably be a piece of music with no bar numbers. There'd be 10 percussion players and no room for the horns to breathe. It's complete madness, right? None of us would appreciate that. But then there's this cue, and I don't actually remember how much of this I managed to do before. We're just gonna pick up where I left off. Then there's this cue, which I have to wait for Sibelius to load it. This is my life. Here we go. All right, check this, guys. So we're gonna have to screw with the spacing here. Let me just show you how much of this did I do. See, like, what the shit is going on here? I actually did a lot of it. Stuff just repeats. Did I do this whole cue? I think I did this whole cue and then forgot it. Like, this is done. I mean, minus the analysis and some of the instrument names, I think this is done. I mean, this stuff here is just repeating. Dude, I totally forgot I even did this. Like, I thought I did maybe the first 10 bars. So, alright. I guess I'll play it for you since it's done. Here it is. That kind of screws my plans for this evening. It's so sudden. Yeah, so pretty ridiculous stuff. First of all, just because we were talking about this just 10 minutes ago. Once again, we are wait, where is it? We are taking the trumpets and their block chords and doubling them literally just an octave below with the same voicing and everything with what is probably the trombones. Either the trombones or the horns. Not rocket science. This is not rocket science, right? The main theme of Superman. Pretty simple stuff overall. Whatever the hell is going on in the first 25 measures of this might as well be rocket science, okay? I mean, you guys see this shit? I think, actually, real quick, just to make this easier to look at, I don't like how some of this stuff is placed on screen. So down here are our strings, full string section. This is a keyboard. I don't know if it's supposed to be like a weird sound. Like, I don't know why it's labeled keyboard and not piano, because we have a piano up here. And then we've got our harp and our glockenspiel. So I think real quick what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this harp right above the strings. That makes more sense in terms of score order. And then move the keyboard above that. Maybe put glockenspiel at the top. Also, this glockenspiel part is like, this needs to be down an octave at least to make it easier to read. No idea why it's the way it is. And then we can dive into this because, like, this is nuts. So, all right. Bring the harp down. And move the piano down. Right there. How's that? Strings, harp, piano, keyboard, and then glockenspiel. Because I think the keyboard is generally playing above the piano most of the time. And, well, yeah. And then glockenspiel is playing way up there, so we'll keep it up there at the top. Okay, so that's nice. How else can we make this a little bit easier to read? I think there was some string stuff that could be flipped around in a way that makes a little bit more sense. For example, okay, maybe not. Maybe not. We could flip this stuff around. Like the second voice here could drop down to the bass clef, and then we could move the cello part up. Problem there is you screw up the consistency of the voicings. I mean, if you kind of get used to the cello being the first voice of the bass clef, and then I switch it up on you, that's kind of a drag. But that's fine. Let me look at that. I think I would like that better. And I'll explain why. Yeah, this gets all screwed up anyway. The string voices are all over the place as it is. So here's what I'm going to do. We're going to move that here. We are going to... God, this is a nightmare. Move this here. Then we can make this voice 1. Then do this. I think I like that better already. What do you guys think? And then this can play. Oh, we don't need this treble thing. We can say move this voice here, and I like that a lot better. Here's why. Because what the I think this is what, the violas, first voice down here in the blue. I think the violas and violins too are kind of giving us the harmonic foundation. I like that being below everything. And then the celli here are sort of playing these counter lines to the violins. So I like that. Christian Borges, do you transcribe this music by ear or do you find copies of the complete scores? I have copies of the score. Dude, transcribing this cue in particular by ear would be a nightmarish endeavor. Are you kidding me? I think it would be impossible. Imagine trying to transcribe this. You know, like impossible. Yeah, I don't think John Williams himself could do it for sure. I don't think anyone could do it. All right. So yeah, we got to do the same thing here that we did to the rest of this. Should have did it all at once. And move this voice down. Now, why would you do that? Stupid piece of shit program. Okay, I think we're good there. Yeah, all right. So I like that. I like the way that looks. Real quick. There's probably going to be some other stuff that I try to clean up in a minute that I'm going to take a look at the score off screen where you guys can't see it. I've got one monitor here, which is what you guys see. I've got another monitor next to it that you guys don't see. And I definitely cannot show you the score. But I just want to double check a few things. So, okay, what's going on in chat? Where do you buy the scores? Haha. They can't be bought, brother. They're in some archive somewhere, and a mysterious dark figure delivered them to me out of nowhere. Yeah, okay. Real quick, I just noticed, for those of you who were here at the beginning of the stream when we were looking at the Nelson Riddle book, I'm just going to keep hammering this stuff in because I think this is how you start to remember this stuff. But the Nelson Riddle book talked about at one point writing an accompaniment for a melody and how you might go about doing such a thing. And what he wrote about was that when the melody is more busy, your accompaniment becomes less busy. When the melody is less busy, or did I already say that? Okay. When the melody is more busy, accompaniment is less busy. When the melody is less busy, the accompaniment is more busy. You want to basically balance it out by having, by having your melody, doing the opposite of whatever the accompaniment is doing, just to provide a continuation of movement between those two elements. Okay. Here's that idea happening in practice in a very cool John Williams cue, where, for example, this top melody, if it can really be considered a melody, because I'm not sure I would, but you've got these half notes sustaining for quite some time, and then sort of a very frilly version of the what's it called, Krypton theme, I think. So you'll notice that whenever these longer notes in the melody are sustaining out, John Williams will have the counterline in the cello doing something a little more interesting. So here we have a sustained note, then the cello come in, keep the movement going. Then when the top line starts to do something more interesting again, the cello stop moving. Got it? Same thing here. The violins hit that top note, and when they start sustaining and not moving, cello start to move again. Okay, it's like very simple counterpoint, but I always just found Nelson Riddle's way of thinking about it, which is pretty simplistic overall. I mean, it's very useful. Christian Borges, you're lucky. Love what you do. Impressive work. Been following you since the beginning. Thank you so much, Christian. I think I am pretty lucky. I get to study music I love, work at a company doing what I love with people that I like working with, and then I get to come on here and talk about all the stuff that I love with other people who love the same thing. And that's pretty cool. Yeah. Now, what the hell is going on in this cue? Oh, whoops, I gotta move this stuff down. That. Here's my thought right away. So this is like obviously a mess. It's really hard to to look at this and imagine some sort of structure or framework holding it all together, whether that be some sort of rhythmic interplay between the different voices at play here, whether it be intervallic. I mean, if you take a look here in the piano part, this. Okay, that's nice. You can see there's like a brief pattern there, the fifth and the major ninth. Okay, that's fine. That's nice. Doesn't repeat. Doesn't show up in the other voices. You know, any sort of order that you might be able to impose on it, pretty impossible to find. And I'm sure that's on purpose. This is basically, if I had to guess, this is very similar to something that John Williams does often, which I have described before in my previous analyses as being a quote-unquote wash of tonality, okay? And what I mean by that is there is not really a harmonic progression at work, for one thing. That's another thing that we can't really discern here. What we have, for the most part, as far as I can tell, is a D Lydian thing happening. And I think we're just kind of sitting in that. You can, if you look in the basses, okay? Look down here on the very bottom staff, bottom voice. Basses are almost always hammering in this D, okay? Hans Zimmer would be very happy, okay? Would Hans Zimmer ever write anything like this? Absolutely not. But we know he does like the D, okay? And so do the basses. Here they are playing that D. Still playing that D, okay? Playing it, okay, now they're not. It's fine. I actually wonder why he decided to have them stop playing the D right there. That's kind of weird that for 20 straight measures you're playing a D and then you stop. And then what's cool about it is we move from D Lydian to G major when the Superman theme starts, which makes me think, well, it basically makes the whole thing from D to G, it makes it a 5-to-1. It makes the whole first 25 measures one big dominant thing into the Superman theme. I mean, that's the relationship between those two sections anyway. Hey, Alex, what's going on? And so, wait, and then what do we do? We end on a, okay, we still end on a G. Okay. So we're in D, okay, for the first 20 measures. And D Lydian, sorry. Now, is there a tune? Sort of. It's a little bit hard to hear with the general MIDI because it's all kind of blending together. But the violins, which are the things that are going to be standing out the most, if you go listen to the original piece on the soundtrack, I'm not going to play for you because I can't. If you go listen to the original soundtrack, the strings are the thing that stands out the most. Harp is not going to be heard that much. The piano, keyboard, and glockenspiel, I think the glockenspiel is heard the most out of all those things. But the strings are first and foremost the thing that you're going to hear. The violins. A very ornamented version of the, I think it's called the Krypton theme. I might be mixing up my Superman themes, but the one that's like the bum ba 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 bum ba bum. Right, that thing. This feels like it's that, but with a lot of extra steps and like some random things in between. Right, there's like kind of a fragment of that. Sort of a variation of it there. Another little variation. Whatever that's supposed to be. Another variation where instead of resolving to the A, we're going down to the E. It would be dun, dun, dun. Once again, you guys get the idea, okay? So that's sort of the tune, but you know, hard to really pick up on it as a tune because there's so much other shit going on and the tune has been so distorted. Now, it's been a long time since I've actually watched the movie, so I'm not 100% sure why. But if I remember correctly, in this moment in the film when Superman is talking to his dad, it's like a moment where Superman is kind of lost, right? I really can't remember what's happening there, but I think he's kind of going to his father for guidance because he's like not sure what to do in a situation. And I feel like the whole idea of this is taking that theme and obscuring it a bit. Well, not a bit, obscuring it a lot, and hiding it behind all of this nonsense. So it's like, we've got this tune. We've also got these trills, which are kind of all clustered together down here. We've got these harp arpeggios. And by the way, I know I keep talking about this, but the whole thing that we were talking about at the beginning from Nelson Riddle's book, where if your main idea, if your melody is very busy, your accompaniment is less busy. You can see we're doing that not just in the strings, like I was talking about earlier, but in everything else. It's a bit harder to manage in this case because there's so many different things happening, but you can see when the keyboard is very busy right here, the piano is just playing half notes. When the keyboard sustains on this note, piano becomes more busy to fill in the space here, and so on. I mean, yeah, obviously there's some overlap. But that's one way you can think about it. But in terms of like all the crazy rhythms going on here, it's almost sort of like why? Because I don't even think you really hear it, but I guess you feel it, you know? It's just so, if I had to be honest, this might be the one time where I actually like look at John Williams and go, brother, you kind of overwrote this. It didn't have to be this crazy. You could have saved yourself some pain and agony in writing all of this out. Like, he didn't have to go this hard on it, but he did. And we love him for it, you know? It'd be cool to hear just some of these things on their own. Here's the glockenspiel part. Let's see what this sounds like. Wait, let me turn that stupid metronome off. What? Why is my mixer down there? Dude, what is happening? I think that's the glockenspiel playing a variation of the tune. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Then these are all repeats. So I think he maybe got tired of writing out a new cluster of who the hell knows what every measure. So he just said, let's take this chunk of stuff and just repeat it every 2 measures. So there's stuff here, don't worry. It's just repeated. And the glockenspiel part becomes a little simpler. Kind of interesting to hear it by itself, but not really all that illuminating. How do you come up with these figures? Like, man. There's gotta be a better way to notate some of this too. I'm not a fan of this. Anyway, that's my immediate thought. See, I thought I was gonna need some time to actually reduce this, but it turns out it's already done. So, I guess that's that. What do you guys think? Never listened to one of these streams before. Very cool. This is reminding me how much of a legend John Williams is. It's cool to see his music dissected like this. Yeah. I'm always reminded of how badass this guy is. And it's very humbling, you know? It's like you can look at this and go, like, I'm never going to be that good, you know? And the sooner you know that, the better. Then you get to just accept that and move on and just try to be as good as you can. Do the best job you can. But, I mean, this stuff is insane. Yeah. This would be a good cue to publish for the holiday season. It was a little bit Christmassy, I think. It's because of how frilly and ornamenty it is. I don't know. Cage Cramshy just got here. Absolutely love your content. Keep it up. Thanks, my friend. We're just chilling looking at a cue from Superman that John Williams did. Probably gonna leave soon as well. Yeah, to be honest, I'm probably gonna leave soon as well, also because I didn't really have anything else on the agenda for today. I thought this was gonna take more time, but I already did it. So, I think I might just end it here, unless you guys have any questions or anything you wanted to talk about. Otherwise, I think I'm gonna call it for today. Yeah. You guys know oh, what's the piece called? Symphonia Antarctica? I think it's called. By Ralph Vaughan Williams. I'm just wondering, actually before I end it, Symphonia Antarctica, I am SLP. The reason I bring this up is this the whole piece was sort of I mean it's written to sound like it's cold. It's Antarctica. I think there's a lot of this stuff in it. And the place that Superman goes to when this cue happens is like covered in ice. And I'm just wondering if we were to take a peek at that score, how much of this was informed by this score? Because I know that John Williams is a huge Ralph Vaughan Williams fan. And we may be able to find out where some of this material is coming from. Just a hunch. See if I'm right. I think I can show you an IMSLP score. Right? Is that copyright? Oh wait, how is it pronounced? Am I pronouncing his name wrong? I have no idea. I'm an American, okay? I'm gonna pronounce names wrong. Not by choice, but see you, Eduardo. Thanks for hanging out. Do you have any great examples of Williams' counterpoint in Superman score offhand? I mean, we were talking about that earlier with this exact cue. We just real quick, I'll reiterate on what I mentioned, but earlier in the stream, we were looking at a book by Nelson Riddle called Arranged by Nelson Riddle, and he talks about counterpoint and how to balance different elements of the piece. His view of counterpoint is pretty simplistic. It's also generally how I tend to think about it, which is when he's arranging a tune for a singer, they'll pay attention to when the tune is busier and there's more notes happening and more motion. And if that's the case, the accompaniment will be much less busy. To balance it out, when the tune is less busy with more sustained notes, the accompaniment will get busier to balance it out. And what I was telling everyone earlier was we can see that at play if we were to just look at the string part right here. I'm sorry, guys, who were here this whole time and have already heard me say this like 5 times. But take a look at the melody right here, real quick in the violin ones. You can see when they're holding out sustained notes, the celli are sweeping in and keeping the motion rolling by giving a little counter tune. And then when the celli hold their sustained note, the violin ones start to pick up again and get busier. There's this constant trade-off between everything. Now, this is not the best example to highlight this because everything else is, there's just so much happening, but I think that interplay between the voices is still happening here. It's just that there's so much overlap that it's a little bit harder to discern between everything. But like, you know, right here you can see when the keyboard is very busy, the piano is not very busy, just sustaining a note. When the keyboard holds out a note, the piano gets busy. So it's a very simplistic example of counterpoint. But I hope that answers your question a little bit. Rafe, oh, I'm stupid. You're right. I'm stupid. I knew that. All right, so let's assume IMSLP is not copyrighted. Maybe not the best assumption to make, but I just want to take a quick scroll through the score, see if anything jumps out at us. You guys should listen to this if you haven't before. It's a very interesting piece. And also a great example of how to make music that sounds cold, which I have talked about previously on this stream, and I'll briefly touch on what I mean by that in a second once we look at this. Yo, look at this though, guys. What? All right. Take a look at the violins playing these really high, quiet, sustained notes while the piano and xylophone and harp do all this crazy stuff. All right, it's not exactly the same. Maybe a bit of a stretch to say that this is borrowed from this piece. Oh, it gets worse. Oh, it gets worse though. Okay. I think I had a good hunch here. Look at this. Definitely not as crazy as the Williams stuff, but, well, as the John Williams stuff. Now we're working with two Williamses. But so we've got Glockenspiel playing 16th notes. We've got Celeste playing 32nd note runs. We've got piano playing 16th note arpeggios, it looks like. And then the strings playing these sustained chords. This is pretty. If this was in Lydian, I'm gonna shit my pants. Is this? We're in. We are in. What key are we in? I have no idea. I can't tell. I think a D flat minor or D flat harmonic minor, is it? D flat. I think so. No. I have no idea. Doesn't matter, it's not Lydian. I would play this, but I don't think I can. I'm gonna have to take a listen to this though, because just looking at the score, I'm seeing very interesting similarities between the instrumentation. Just gonna skim through the rest of this. Does Ava pay well? Yeah. Yeah, I get like about 10 euros. 10 euros a month. But it's enough to get by, you know. cool thing is that a lot of people think you have to pay your rent, but truth is you don't. They don't really tell you that. Like, if you just stop paying your rent, nothing will happen, you know? Oh no, it's doing the Grimm thing where we half the size of the score. Don't do the Grimm thing. Now I'm upset. Yeah, I'm gonna take a closer look at this later, because I think there are some cues that are, or some excerpts here that could very easily be attributed to that Superman cue as a reference point. Oh, this in particular, for sure. Because another thing that you'll notice that I didn't talk about a lot before is not only is there no real like harmonic progression or anything, but so I guess what I mean by that is it's not like this is in a chord, it's just kind of a tonality. It's just D Lydian with a bunch of frilly stuff. It's hard to even really consider this like a D chord, you know? It's not like a chord, there's just so much happening. But there's also just this blend of different rhythmic figures that I didn't talk about before, but it's like we've got 16th note triplets against straight 16th notes, against eighth notes, against unmeasured tremolos in the violas. Go to the next bar. We've got we look 16th note sextuplet against straight 16th notes, against an eighth note, against unmeasured tremolo in the I think violas. Like, just so many different rhythms are playing against each other that just makes it really hard to discern between the different elements and know and be able to kind of find the pulse, you know? And I'm sort of seeing the same thing happening in the Wraith piece here. So we've got our triplets in the horns, and we've got just like straight 30-second notes in the piano. We've got glissandi in the harp, straight 16th notes in the woodwinds. Like, it's just this blend of rhythms. So I mean, it's not like Rafe invented that, but my hypothesis here is that John Williams, who I'm pretty sure I read before that he is a fan of Rafe. My hypothesis is that he, when facing this particular cue, where in the film Superman is in this very cold place, a lot of ice and everything, thought about this, maybe opened up the score and just took a look through it and thought, you know, what are some things I can borrow from this, and then did his thing, which is kind of doing what this piece does, but a lot better, in a more interesting way. That's my hypothesis. I could be wrong, and of course there's no real way of knowing whether that's the case or not at this point. But that's my thought. 10 euros a month is a great improvement from a regular musician's 10 euros a year. Yeah, I guess. Brad, did you mention the obvious connection between Antarctica and the Fortress of Solitude, both set in cold conditions? Well, I just did. There you go. Yeah, that was my thought. That's why I pulled this this piece up in the first place, because I was just thinking about, are there any pieces that are set in cold conditions? Do you ever play in high school or college marching band? Yeah, I mentioned that in other streams, but yeah, I was in the pit orchestra first in high school, musicals, and then from there, I joined the regular orchestra and the jazz band as a pianist, and then as a what do you call it, drum major for the marching band. I didn't actually play in the marching band. I just became a drum major and told all of the marching band plebs what to do. And then that was my experience with marching band. I'm actually, I don't know if I've talked about this on this stream before, but the marching band director and the orchestra director and the pit orchestra director, who was all the same person, but that dude definitely played a big part in making me who I am today. He was someone who I think just recognized that I was really interested in music and wanted to study it like all the time. And he just tried to do everything he could to try to give me something to learn, you know. I remember in my in the orchestra class, I wasn't always needed. Like there were some pieces that we would play that didn't have piano parts, so he would find like a score in his collection, like a full orchestra score of like a Beethoven piece or something like that, and he would just give it to me and say, while we practice this piece, why don't you go into the practice room and listen to this piece and follow along with the score and just pick out anything interesting, you know? And so he got me really interested in score analysis even back then. And I give him a lot of credit for that, you know? He also let me take some pieces that I was trying to write at the time. I had no idea what I was doing. I was trying to write music for orchestra, and it was terrible. But he gave me the opportunity to take that music and put it in front of the orchestra and have them play it and rehearse it and stuff. And I got to learn a lot about, you know, what works and what doesn't from doing that. Same thing with jazz band. I wrote something for the jazz band, and we rehearsed it for one of the concerts. And that was a lot of fun and very educational experience. I'll say that. Any good composition or orchestration books you recommend? Yeah, what you've all just said is fine. Is that what the book's called that I mentioned earlier? There's like a little pocket book, like a real tiny book with some easy stuff to it's like real handy material. There's another book that I read in college called Modern Orchestration or something like that. No, it's not Modern Orchestration. What is it? 20th Century Orchestration or 21st Century Orchestration or crap, I can't remember what it was called now. I'm sorry. But it was basically I think it was less about technical things and more of practical combinations of instruments and like if you need to get this particular sound, here's some ways you can achieve that. I'll have to go look up the name of the book. I'm sorry, I don't remember exactly what it was, but I don't know of a lot of books on composition, weirdly enough. I don't read a lot of composition books. To be honest, and this applies to orchestration as well. I think the best thing you can do is just study the music that you like. I've learned, to be honest, I've learned way more about orchestration and composing from studying music and doing what we're doing, or what we've been doing all day today, and what I do for this channel. I've learned way more from studying all of these scores than I have from reading, any number of books on orchestration and composition. So that would actually be my recommendation to you. I would do more studying music and less bookage, but that's just me, I guess. Are you a gamer? Oh, Vox. I guess. I really want to play the Squadrons game, the VR Star Wars game, where you're in like an X-wing or whatever, like flying through the air fighting other ships. That looks kind of dope. Where did you live in the US? I grew up in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And I went to college in Philadelphia for 4 years. And then as soon as I graduated, I moved out here to Luxembourg to work for Ava. And I've been living here for over 2 years now. That's my life. Pretty crazy. And I'm always trying to make my life a little crazier. Yako, what is happening here? Who knows? We were reading a book, then we were studying some music, and now we're just chatting. That's what's happening now. We're just chatting. So if you like chatting, then by all means, stick around. You went to the University of the Arts? I did. How did you know? Do I have it somewhere behind me? I don't have my sweatshirt. Are you stalking me? By the way, guys, I mentioned earlier, and again, I've said this on a previous stream. At some point, these streams are going to be me repeating myself. But I talked before about what I think makes music sound cold, and some of that in part was as a result of me studying this particular score, not or composition. And what I mentioned was that what's kind of interesting is how your orchestration can make something sound cold by use of certain techniques that sort of emulate what the human body does. Here's what I mean by that. If you take a look through this score, which is, for those of you who are just coming into Rafe Vaughan Williams' Symphonia Antarctica, what you will find is, one, a lot of muted brass. Okay? What does that mean? What you're doing is you are restricting the flow of air through the instrument in some way by placing something at the end of that instrument. Similarly to the way that your blood vessels will restrict the flow of blood, okay? When you're very cold. You may also shiver as a result of being very cold. What you will find in this score is a lot of tremolo strings or tremolo woodwinds, okay? Emulating the feeling of shivering, okay? What you will also find is the specific performance instruction to play without vibrato. Okay? You will find a lot of percussion instruments, which are, what is it? Glockenspiel, Celeste. I think there was some vibes, which again are pretty, I don't want to say lifeless instruments, but very cold, very steely sounding. Sort of hard for me to articulate why. But I think it may not be entirely deliberate, and I think I'm stretching a little bit here, trying to justify some of these things, but it's a very interesting way of thinking about it, you know? If you were to, for example, compare cold music to what I would describe as being warm-sounding music, let's say in the strings, what you will find is when you want something to sound very warm and pleasant, you may see the performance instruction to play with a lot of vibrato and a lot of expression. One way you can think about it is if you get very horny, your blood tends to rush a little bit faster as opposed to when you're cold. And so it's sort of the opposite of the performance instruction you would give to a string section to play cold versus warm. Another good example, apart from this piece and the Superman piece that we were just looking at, is the Dementor music from Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. You'll see a lot of the same stuff. Tremolo strings. Not just tremolo, actually. Sol Ponticello playing on the neck or by the bridge to give that very icy feeling. Once again, you'll see in the woodwinds, no vibrato, no expression, muted brass. It's for sure a trend that I've noticed. And again, my explanation of it, my justification for it, is perhaps a bit of a stretch. I don't think that John Williams is specifically thinking, when scoring the Dementor music, oh, I'm going to put a mute on the horns because when humans get cold, our blood vessels tighten up, and so I'm going to tighten the airflow through the horn. I don't think he's thinking that. I'm just trying to justify why there is some sort of historical trend towards this across time, okay? And even if that's not the case, even if it just happens to be that this is what composers did, and it just caught on, it is an interesting way to think about it, I think. I'm always looking for interesting and helpful ways to think about approaching music and trying to score certain scenarios. So, go back. Sorry, I when I'm on a rant like that, I try not to look at chat because it throws me off. So let me catch up. Vox, how do you go about deciding how to structure the stuff you write? Do you tend to use pieces as templates, or do you just see where the piece goes as you write? I try to start off first with going in what I hope will be a natural direction, meaning like I try not to think of a specific piece and just go where my mind wants to take me. But it's often the case that I get stuck or I get insecure about what I'm doing. And when that happens, I will pull up another piece and go, well, what does this piece do? All right, this piece does the A section, and then it, dips out and brings in the percussion. All right, I'm going to do that. because clearly it worked in this piece. You know, hopefully it'll work with mine. Sure, I'm not the only one who does that. At this point, I think it's also, you know, I've studied so much John Williams, for example, on this channel, as many of you know, that just like that influence comes through no matter what. Like it's hard for me to hide that at this point. It's like I may write something and not consult a single piece of reference material, but you can tell, like, oh, you're doing the Johnny thing, you know? Alex, I think I stalked you at one point. I know people who went there. I went to North Penn High School, if you've heard of it. A lot of University of the Arts people come from North Penn. Yeah, I've heard of North Penn. Yeah. And I think now that you mention that, I do remember some people coming from North Penn. I would describe my overall experience at UArts as being pretty mid. But whatever. How old are you? 25. I am 25 years old, and next year I'll be 26. So how about that? Jake Gearhart, Vivaldi's Four Seasons, does a really good job of highlighting the difference between warm and cold music. Yeah, it's like a very simplistic manifestation of that, you know. It's a good place to start. I wasn't listening for a second. Now we're talking about getting horny. Yeah, you missed some context there, but hope I didn't scare you away. Fox, hey, we're the same age. You know, I just based on the numbers in your name, 1868, I was assuming you were a lot older than that, but maybe you're one of the people who doesn't have their birth year in their username. Good for you. But this is also why, by the way, I'm always kind of like, I mean, it's really fun and educational for me to study these scores, and then and it's very rewarding to publish them and have so many people appreciate them. But I always kind of want to hammer it in that I am in fact just 25 years old, and not that experienced, and certainly not everything I say is to be taken as fact, you know. I'm trying my hardest out here, but at the end of the day, I am 25, and you should take everything I say with a grain of salt, you know. That's why I like to try to look up the people like John Williams and Rafe Vaughan Williams in this case, and Nelson Riddle, and just try to suck as much information I can from them and give it back to you guys, you know? Because then it's like, you're not getting the information from me necessarily. It's like, look, I'm just showing you what John Williams is doing, you know? It's like, if you want to decide not to listen to John Williams, that's your own prerogative. Johann Sebastian Bach asks your favorite opera. I don't know. I don't listen to a lot of opera, if I'm being honest. I like how we're always making fun of Mike for staying for hours, and then you said you're going to wrap up like 40 minutes ago. Well, I didn't have a lot else to talk about 40 minutes ago, and then people started asking questions, and it's like, if we have stuff to talk about, I'm happy to stick around and talk. But otherwise, my plan for today was to go through my notes of the Nelson Riddle book, then finish the Flag Parade reduction, and then finish the reduction of this Superman cue, which I already finished. I didn't realize that. And then that was it. Beyond that, it was like, maybe we'll talk, maybe we'll do something fun if anyone suggests something. Otherwise, that was it. And so far, we're just chatting. It's pretty fun. So, David Neville has joined the chat. Hello, David. I think the rewarding part about your content is, for me personally, you give very interesting insight into the music and allows for a deeper understanding of the music. I'm glad you feel that way. I try, and my approach to that has evolved over time. So when I first started doing this, I had this kind of what would you call it? I had this kind of rule for myself where I didn't want to make assumptions or guess the reasoning behind why things were happening in different soundtracks. And so what I would do was instead provide a very, very strictly technical analysis of all the music. Meaning like, okay, this chord is a C7 chord. This chord is an F major 7 chord. This is a B flat Lydian scale. This is planing. This is a variation of the theme. Like, these things, I don't want to say they're obvious, although to some people, especially if you've studied music theory and know about all of those things, then they will be obvious. But it's like you can't really argue with them in most cases. It's like you have a C and an E and a G, it's a C major chord. That's it. It's not like, it's not an assumption. It's like, no, it's a C major chord by almost all definitions, And so I was sticking with those types of labels and analysis notes or commentary, because I was going, well, you can't argue with that. It's just, that is what it is. And what I didn't want to do was hypothesize about why, because I didn't want to put words into the composer's mouths. And so, there were very select times where I would take a cue like the main theme of Star Wars and say, well, at the end of that, when the crawl is finished and John Williams plays the Mars chords, right? I feel comfortable saying that, oh, this was lifted from Mars, because not just, it's not just that it sounds like Mars and looks like Mars and is orchestrated almost exactly like Mars. It's that John Williams specifically said, or I think George Lucas mentioned in a book at one point, that was the temp track, So so there were very select cases where I would look at something and go, okay, I feel comfortable hypothesizing or suggesting that this was borrowed from or stolen from Mars in that case, because I can point to a resource that says, or that supports that hypothesis, okay? But then, I don't know, I think it's not hard for people to separate what my more technical notes are from my hypothesizing, because I've been doing a lot more of that now. Or getting into the Harry Potter music. I don't know if you guys looked at my analysis of the prologue cue from Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, or the Philosopher's Stone. But for example, in the very beginning of that, after the celeste intro, there's that chromatic thing that happens in the strings and woodwinds where we're taking minor triads and planing them up chromatically up and down. Right, that whole thing. And I found a cue in I think it was a Ravel piece, and the cue, the cue, the Ravel piece was a piece from a suite which was supposed to kind of be underscoring a dark scene, like it was something about the streets at night or something. I can't remember the name. And it was a very similar thing. It was like planing, I think, minor triads or major triads up and down in a very similar fashion. And I thought, I don't know. I can't point to a resource that suggests to me that John Williams was familiar with this and got his idea from this. But this is a Ravel piece, or obviously a lot of people are going to be familiar with Ravel. It is a piece that takes place at nighttime. The compositional technique that's sitting, underneath the whole thing, the framework of the piece, if you will, is very similar. And that's all I have to go with, but it's an interesting parallel to draw, And so I started doing it. And I think it can be useful to draw those parallels, even if I can't, back them up 100%, Sorry, I'm just like ranting now. You guys got me going on different rants. Are you going to write a book one day? Maybe. I thought about it, but I don't know what I would write a book about exactly. Actually, it's an E minor chord. yeah, right. Yuval, I'm doing some analysis as well, and I'm failing to do that as well. There's something more mature about trying to see what the inspiration is. I remember how you broke your head about Minerva. Yeah. When McGonagall transforms it from a cat into her human self, those chords that playing are so bizarre, and it was really fun and an interesting challenge for me to hypothesize about what was happening there. Obviously, I wrote a shit ton about that in the analysis, but it's like, I think what that came down to was there's not really any sort of intervallic pattern. There's not really any consistent way that you can analyze those chords, but it's just these really crazy dissonant and unconventional harmonic structures, which are underscoring a scenario in the film, which is, just to draw the parallel, very unconventional and unknown to us. This is a magical event. This is outside of the Muggle world, if you will. And so I thought that, even though I have no idea if that's what John Williams was thinking, it's interesting to think about it in that way, I think. And it can be helpful for us, if you're someone who is interested in this, if you want to get into film scoring, if you like composing, I am always trying to find these different interesting or helpful ways to think about music. So for me, that's what it comes down to. It's not me saying, I know that this is what John Williams was thinking at measure 12. I know that he was borrowing this idea from Ravel, or I know that he was going for this certain intervallic pattern for this reason or that reason. I don't know that. It's just me looking at it, hypothesizing, and going, here's a way to think about it that may not be right, but at the very least might be helpful for you, and useful for useful as a way to think about music. That's what it is for me. Okay. You aren't writing that book until you're giving us that Harry Potter album. Yeah, I'm working on it. Okay. I think it's cool to see the parallels or possible influences, so thanks for starting to add that in. I'm glad you like it. unless it's James Horner reusing stuff. What's your favorite movie and movie score, guys? Brad? Mine's Cinema Paradiso. That's a great score. Personally, and this is just not even maybe on merit, although it is a really good score, but I was a huge fan of Harry Potter as a kid. Loved it. I read the books like dozens of times. Loved the movies. I had the soundtrack. I wanted to learn all of the themes on the piano when I was a kid growing up. And so the Harry Potter soundtrack will, I think, always hold a very special place in my heart. And so I would have to say, I mean, really on the merit too, it's an excellent soundtrack. It's, I think, one of John Williams' best, but so that's why it's probably more of a personal reason, but obviously there are a lot of great scores that people are dropping in the chat right now, like Empire Strikes Back and Vertigo. I mean, like obviously those are incredible soundtracks. I'm, not trying to say that Harry Potter is the best soundtrack of all time. It is just my favorite, What is planing? Yeah, David, I guess just answer that question for you. Yeah. I think just to elaborate on that point, I think in the John Williams discography, if you will, there's sort of a line that you can draw somewhere at the end of the 90s and the beginning of the 2000s where John Williams' style started to morph a bit. Where the pre-late 90s stuff, like the original Star Wars trilogy material, Superman, Indiana Jones, all of those, very solid thematic material, obviously, incredibly iconic, but I sort of feel like his execution wasn't as good as it became after the early 2000s, okay? And not just his execution, but also his orchestration really started to flesh out by that time. And so I think post-early 2000s, if you think of I don't know, stuff like the new Star Wars stuff, meaning the Force Awakens plus the BFG, Munich. It was Munich. Wait, I mean you guys know what I'm talking about. It's just more modern Williams. When is Munich? Yeah, 2005. That's what I thought. Okay. So there's a line where his music started, the themes in his music started to become a little less iconic. Still great, obviously, for a number of reasons. But his execution and his orchestration and stuff, I think, improved a lot. Like he became a more, as David just said, I like the way you worded it. He matured as an artist, I think, a lot more by that time. But the Harry Potter scores, especially, well, the ones that Williams did, 1 to 3, are like a sweet spot where the themes are just sick, like still top of his game, like just incredible. I mean, like no one's ever going to forget the Harry Potter theme, like, and those carried through the entire franchise for a reason, because they're incredible. Incredible themes, but also just brilliant orchestration and brilliant execution on like every level. Like it just works. And so for me, it's like best of both worlds, I always thought the change happened in Jurassic Park. Yeah, you could say that. I mean, it's Jurassic Park was what 93? Was it? Forget. Let me pull up John Williams' filmography because I feel like I'm forgetting some things. List of compositions by John Williams. Okay, so in the 90s we had Home Alone, we had Hook, we had JFK, Jurassic Park in 93, Schindler's List, both incredible scores, obviously. Then Sabrina, Nixon, Sleepers, Rosewood, Lost World, 7 Years in Tibet, Amistad, Saving Private Ryan, Stepmom, Star Wars Episode 1, and Angela's Ashes. A lot of those are kind of hidden gems, really. Angela's Ashes, 7 Years in Tibet. So I would say, let's see. Home Alone, Jurassic Park, and Schindler's List, probably the most iconic of all of those, and those are in the early 90s. But then definitely, I think you're right. Who said that? Who said October Phoenix? I think you're right. I think the change started to happen around maybe not exactly at Jurassic Park, although I can understand why you would say that, but for sure around the time of the Lost World and like 7 Years in Tibet in 97. Not really sure what kind of caused that stylistic shift, but I mean, it's very gradual, so whatever. And then in the early 2000s, we've got The Patriot, AI, artificial intelligence, which didn't Mike Wirth, when he was on here, say that AI, artificial intelligence was like 80s John Williams on acid? It's like the best description of it. Yeah, and then you've got Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Star Wars Episode 2, Minority Report, Chamber of Secrets, Catch Me If You Can, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, The Terminal, all great scores, obviously. I think that, man, that area right there, dude, in 2002, John Williams wrote 4 film soundtracks. He did Episode 2 of Star Wars, Minority Report, Harry Potter 2, and Catch Me If You Can. And those are all incredible scores. God damn. And in 2005, he did 4. What are you guys saying? Most of Harry Potter, wait. Yeah. Oh, Herb Spencer. Yeah, that's when yeah, but it's not like that. I mean, would that have really, it wouldn't have impacted the style that much because Herb Spencer and Conrad Pope, I mean, great orchestrators, obviously, but when you work with John Williams, it's like you're just copying the notes from one page to another page, if we're being honest. But maybe at a personal level that, I don't know, caused him to explore things a bit. I don't know. I don't want to I don't want to venture into trying to figure that out. Cameron Clark, what piece is this? I mean, we're not really looking at it anymore, but what you see on screen is Symphonia Antarctica by Ralph Vaughan Williams. But we haven't really been talking about it for the last half hour, so don't worry about it that much. There's a few Star Wars moments in Nixon. I don't remember that. Been a long time since I listened to Nixon, actually. There's a funny moment I was just listening to some of the Home Alone music the other day. Now that we're getting ready for Christmas time. And there's a moment in what's the piece called? It's in the Hal Leonard suite. It's not Home Alone, or it's not Somewhere in My Memory. It's not Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. It's like the dark one. Star of Bethlehem. Dude, he does the Darth Vader chords in the middle of that. It's so sick. Like everything cuts out and the brass just like plays like the minor 1 and the minor 6 together, which is just like John Williams, or it's just like Darth Vader right out in the open. It's so weird. You also play the John Williams themes on the piano without reading the sheet music. I can, some of them. Some of them I have memorized because I've just looked at them and listened to them enough times. Actually, no, not enough times. I think it's cool that we can compare Here They Come between the version from New Hope and the one from Last Jedi. Yeah, actually, alright. I'm gonna rant for a minute here, okay? I'm gonna take a sip of water first. Something that really bothers me about the new Star Wars music, meaning like the last 3 films, in particular the last 2 for sure, is there what I think is an over-reliance on the existing thematic material. The reason I say that is, think about the original Star Wars trilogy. Okay, in the first movie, we had the Star Wars main theme, which was new. Right, you guys know what that is. Then we had the Force theme. We have Princess Leia's theme. We have the Rebel fanfare. We have I think the Cantina band. We've got basically all these places. You know, we've got the Death Star or the Imperial motif that plays. You know, all these great new themes. I mean, it's a brand new film. It's a brand new franchise. No one knows who these characters are. We've got to obviously create a soundtrack universe from scratch, and John Williams did it, and it was epic. Everyone loved it, obviously. Then the Empire comes around. For one thing, new characters, new settings. Great. Got a new theme for Darth Vader. Got a theme for Han and Leia, since they're, you know, a thing. We've got this great battle music for the Battle of Hoth with lots of really cool themes and motifs and just crazy sequences, right? We've got the asteroid field sequence. It was this really cool thing in the Millennium Falcon being chased through the asteroids, and John Williams wrote the right, like that thing, which is so cool. We've got the big brass chords, the ba-na-na-na-na, ba-ba-na-na, right? Like super orgasmic, okay? What more? We've got the carbon free sequence. We've got the would you call it a theme? I don't know. The whole Cloud City sequence where they're being chased and anyway, you guys get the idea. Lots of cool stuff. Pretty much all new except for the occasional harken back to the Force theme or the main theme here and there. Lots of new material. Same with Return of the Jedi. I won't go through it again. We've got Yoda's theme. We've got all the Endor music for the Ewoks. Not really relying, I think, a whole lot on previous material. I think the same can be said for the prequel trilogy. Lots of new stuff, lots of new characters. So necessarily we have to create new themes and whatnot for them. All the new planets and events that are happening. What bothers me about the new trilogy is you take a sequence like who said that? Matthew? What Matthew said, which was, oh, we have the what's it called? Can't remember what it's called. Here They Come. We have the Here They Come cue in The Last Jedi when I don't even know, Rey and whoever is in the Millennium Falcon and they're being chased and it's like we have new characters in a new setting being chased by other new characters, and what we did was we brought in a cue from like 8 movies ago, which was for completely a complete different set of characters in a complete different setting in a complete different time. And we just went, let's do the Here They Come thing because everyone's going to know what that is and they're going to shit their pants. As opposed to writing a new theme. Now, here's one thing. I'm going to call myself out right now, okay? Yeah, Nick, you're right. Rey's theme and Kylo's theme is new for the new trilogy. Is that not, kind of it? There's, what is there? Rey's theme, Kylo's theme, the Resistance. I guess Rose had a theme, right? It was kind of mid, but she had a theme. And that's it. We had the stuff with Yoda, which used Yoda's theme. It makes sense. It's fine. But what's David saying? John Williams inserted a whole passage from the slow movement of a cello concerto into Angela's Ashes. I did not know that, actually. Jesse, exactly. This is my problem. Jesse says, I also found that the themes were often misused just for nostalgic purposes. For example, the Force theme is now more a theme for everything that is supposed to be emotional. Exactly. In the trailers for the new movies, just the Force theme everywhere. Force theme everywhere. Force theme for, I don't even remember, okay? But in particular, it's like in the Millennium Falcon, it's like, dude, John Williams could write something epic and totally new, but instead they just went for the Here They Come music because Millennium Falcon chase. That's why. It kind of annoys me. Okay. So that's my little rant there. I agree. It's uninteresting musically, but I meant it's interesting to hear how the mixes produce different sound. Yeah. Oh, okay, you're right. That's fair. It's crazy to hear the difference between the mixes from a film from the 70s and a film from 50 years later. It's crazy. By the way, I'm not even that big of a fan of the mixes in the new films. I think they feel like the main theme in particular feels just not as punchy as it did in the original trilogy and even the prequel trilogy. Scarfy, thanks for the $5. I do like the Parasite score, but the problem is that I don't have the score, so I can't do like a proper score reduction and analysis of it. I mean, I can. The best I could do in that circumstance is just listen to it and give my thoughts. It's been a while, so I can't. I don't think I could really say much about it right here and now, but unfortunately, I think it's outside of the scope of this channel to, I don't know, do a transcription of it or something like that. Sorry. If the score was available, I would probably take a little bit of a look at it. The original from 1977 was always the best main theme. Smaller recording, studio probs, less reverb, more punch. Yeah, exactly. And actually, I did when I was in college, I was taking a mixing class, and you guys are gonna think this is so stupid. So at the end of the mixing class, I had to analyze the mix of a certain album, and because I'm a freaking nerd, I did an analysis of the mix of the first Star Wars album, and I found a document. Sorry, I found a document of actually how that soundtrack was mixed, and it was some guy that was like there at the recording session, I think, and kind of detailed the mic placements and the equipment and just in general, like how everyone worked together. Very interesting. If you haven't looked into that before, I'll see if I can find the name of it. But what was funny to me is there was a little anecdote about John Williams, who was for things like the main theme and the more epic aggressive cues like the action sequences and stuff. He would say to the mixing guy, "Oh, let's push the trumpets into Vuvu land, baby." He called it Vuvu land, and what Vuvu land was taking the volume meter on the console and pushing it up so that like everything clipped and like created this distortion in the trumpets and the brass section as a whole. And but that's what he called it. He said let's take the trumpets into Vuvu land, baby. Like, oh, John. But there's your to your point. Was it Matthew or October? Yeah, October, about the smaller studio and the more punch. I think that punch is coming from the Vuvu land, you know. And by the way, that little trick is something I started to actually take into account when I unfortunately have to work with samples and do a MIDI mock-up of some kind for an orchestral piece. If I'm feeling like the trumpets just aren't as aggressive, I'll do the same thing, where I'll basically add a little bit of saturation, or even in some cases I've like literally ran it through a distortion pedal to add that same kind of not clipping, but you know, distorted sound of the trumpets that you'll hear in the Star Wars that original Star Wars soundtrack. So, what are you guys talking about? Have you heard the Mandalorian's OST? Yeah, we talked about this yesterday for like an hour, Mike and I. I'm not gonna get into it today, but it's fine. A lot of people that are here right now were also here yesterday. I don't want to put them through it again. Did Williams actually write cues for solo? I thought he only wrote The Adventures of Han. That's what I thought. I thought he just helped with the main theme. And I think just consulted with John Powell a bit to give him some tips. Dude, how awesome would that be? Like John Powell, like you get to just like spend some time with John Williams just picking his brain and going like, how do you write a Star Wars score, you know? So awesome. 1M8, 7M45 are all Williams. David, how do you know the cue numbers? The score isn't out for that, is it? Yeah, you've all get some sleep. It's fine. You can always catch up. I mean, not that, I don't know, the rest of this is just going to be chatting. I'm going to leave soon as well. They're listed on the album release? Oh, okay. I'm stupid. Okay. That's weird. Like, what's the deluxe edition from? Is it like a La La Land? Wow, La La Land record thing. Good night, Yuval. Thanks for hanging out. I realized about a week ago that back when La La Land Records released the Disaster collection from John Williams, the what is it, like Earthquake and the Towering Inferno. I think there was another one in there. They did a release of those soundtracks, and I bought it. But I had it shipped to my parents' house in the U.S. Because having things like that shipped to Europe is it costs a lot of money, and I have to pay all the import tax and stuff. I had it sent to their place. My parents were looking after it for me. And then my parents' house burnt down a while ago. And it occurred to me a week ago that means I don't have those soundtracks anymore. I mean, wasn't the first thing I thought of when I realized that my childhood house burnt down. But yeah, realized that. That's a shame. I still got my my copy of the Harry Potter collection and the Minority Report soundtracks that I ordered from La La Land, so cool. Those were the ones I really wanted. I need to go to bed soon. Oh yeah. Everything's fine now. My parents were fine. They got out of it okay. They were able to save a good amount of stuff from the house, at least all the stuff that mattered. And the cat got out okay. And now they're in a new place. And they like it, so everything's fine. Yeah, but that was not a fun. I basically one morning, I woke up to my mom calling me at like 6 a.m. and I answered the phone, and she's just showing me like what used to be the house, and that was not a fun way to wake up. And he's like, "Yeah, the house burned down, Brad. Good morning." And I was like, "Okay, well, gotta get my coffee and go to work." Yep, it happens. Par for the course in 2020, though, you know. If it's gonna happen in any year, it's gonna happen in 2020, the year of our Lord and Savior. They were able to save. One thing that I asked them to try to look for if they could was, I got some when I was in high school and I was working with. I mean, I was telling you guys earlier about my band and orchestra director in high school. I got a little award from him in the music department about just for me writing music for the orchestra and trying to be a part of everything, and I got a little like plaque for that. And I don't know, that kind of means a lot to me because it's like that was sort of my beginnings into really diving into music, and I asked them to look for that. And good news is that was still intact and not damaged, so that was good. Are you from the West Coast? Was it all the fires we had over here? No. I grew up in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. It was seemingly just a random fire that just started in front of my parents' house. Like, to this day, I don't think they really know why it happened. Very strange, random fire. Could you talk about your AI experience in a future video? Maybe. What would you like to know about it? Out of curiosity. I mean, there's not, there's some things I can talk about, some things I can't talk about if it's directly related to what we're working on right now. Happy to give my thoughts on it at any time, of course. I'm hesitant to make a video about it because I don't want it to like seem like an ad. Like it would be kind of weird for me to make a video going like, here's why I think AI music is fine, like as an employee of the company that I'm talking about, a little bit of a conflict of interest, but yeah. I hope I didn't alarm you. Yeah, everyone's fine. Actually, it was funny. Okay, this is a little bit funny. So, the day that happened, and then I'll move on from this because I know it's really depressing. I didn't mean to like bring the mood down at the end of the stream. But so after I talked to my mom that morning, I went into work like usual, and you know, in the morning, some of my coworkers, we have a group chat, and we're always like saying good morning, how are you in the group chat. And you know, one of my friends was like, oh, you know, like, how are you today? And I said, well, I just learned that my parents' house burnt down. He's like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that, bro, you know. And then the other friend that's in that group chat writes cool with the sunglasses emoji. And I was like, what? Like, why is he saying that's cool? Okay. And so I go into work, and I'm doing my thing, and we start talking about something else. I can't remember what it was. I think that same coworker was like, oh yeah, I was up all night playing Civilization. Okay. So I'm like, what? I still don't understand why he said cool. Like, it's such a weird thing to say, because this guy's otherwise is a nice guy, you know? And and then at lunch, we go out together, and I was like, oh, sorry, I'm late to lunch. Like, I was talking to my sister. I was just telling my sister what happened. And he goes, oh, what happened? I was like, dude, I told you. I told you in the group chat that my parents' house burnt down. It's like, what? Your parents' house burnt down? It's like, dude, you're in the group chat. I said this morning, you know? And he's like, I didn't get that message. And I was like, well, why did you say cool? And he goes, oh, well, I woke up and I saw your message from the night before about, like, I forget what it was, some video I was working on or something I sent to them. He's like, yeah, I was responding to your message from last night. And I was like, well, dude, you missed the part where I said my parents' house burnt down, and then you just jumped straight over that and said cool. And he's like, oh, dude, I'm so sorry. Like, it was like, I think it was one of those weird things where the messages were getting like stuck in a queue, like they weren't getting delivered to him, and then they kind of got delivered to him all at once. I don't really know, but it's kind of funny. I'm like, yeah, I didn't think you were saying cool about that, but anyway, Laurie, this is we haven't been talking about this piece for an entire hour. I've just been sitting here with it up, but yeah, this is Ray Vaughan Williams' Symphonia Antarctica, but for the past hour we have been doing everything except talking about that piece, so just haven't changed the camera. Anyway, guys, I think I'm actually gonna call it quits here. It's 10:30 at night on my end, and I've been up all day working on stuff. I was talking to Mike earlier about some things going on with him, and you know, obviously doing a bit of reading and doing some cooking and stuff, and I'm just not planning on staying up too late tonight, so I think I'm gonna go to bed. But I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. This was like a very chill thing. Going through the book and studying some music and then chatting. This is fun for me. I appreciate you guys staying with us and chatting and giving your thoughts. It makes for a very fun and wholesome time for me. So I really appreciate it. Gotta pull up the outro music. Wait, I got this. Hold on. I'm gonna switch to me. This is what I'm gonna do, guys. I'm gonna lay in my bed. I'm just gonna cover myself in a blanket and just pass out, okay? That's what I feel like doing. All right. Where's my outro music? SpaghettiCarbonara.exe. Here we go.
Hi, this is Tom, Junkie XL, and welcome to Studio Time with Junkie XL.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Very
this has been a lot of fun.
And please follow me.
Thanks to everyone who became a member. Thanks to people who donated, followed me.
We have
Thanks for
Kitchen Time,
chatting.
Junkie XL, and we're gonna make.
Hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. I'll talk to you next time. All right?
Go.
Good night.
It's a very simple recipe, but you have to do it right. If you don't do it right, it's gonna be awful. If you do it right, it's God, a dish from God. So let's start with the white wine. Take a little sip. And here we go. These are the ingredients that you need. Bacon, 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 bacon. Very thick sliced